all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time, but also, as always, as our spherical storytellers. Say hi, spherical storytellers.
Hi,
spherical
storytellers.
Perfect as always.
We are all perfectly in sync.
Yep, not a moment of lag. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is so exciting. What an incredible season we just came off of Dimension 20. And all of you are, I don't know, the most responsible? No one else, none of the cast is here. You're the most responsible for why it was such a good season. Truly, truly so much fun and so iconic in so many different, battles that will live forever in terms of amazingness. But for those of you that joined me the last time we did one of these roundtables, the way I like to start things out is have you all introduce each other and say a thing you loved working with someone on this season. And to kick us off, I'll do the easiest one, which is Cait May and Arthur Eggfort's making out with each other. The easiest choice of the season.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I will take the other duck and go for Rick Perry, who made a face out of what appeared to be cotton and ended up rigging it for lightning. It was awesome.
Well, that's very easy because I didn't actually make the face. I just drew it. Kelsey Hunter is the one who actually made the face and put the lightning in.
And then I'll introduce Greg, who made the mansion on that set. Perfect.
Thank you. And I'll introduce Jessie, who was my sort of reference consultant on the whole thing. I built a lot of things that referenced other things, and she helped keep me on track, making sure everything lined up.
Thank you, and I'll introduce Alison, who without her leading or her guiding, I wouldn't have gotten anything done on time.
And I guess do I just introduce you, Jordan? Is that what happens?
No, you don't have to introduce me.
Okay.
We all know who you are.
I didn't say
do
at this
anything
point
for this season. Yeah.
You have made my Instagram messages so much more exciting the past few months. How about that?
Because I posted an interview with you, or because I periodically just tell you how much I enjoyed the season?
Just all of the back and forth in general. It's very enjoyable.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that. I want to start at the end and work our way backwards, because I haven't gotten to speak to any of you since Ragnarok. The original Jim, what was it like for those of you that got to work on that, breaking down the original set, making it move? I mean, I have to feel like bittersweet, excited, like you're carving up like fantasy high history. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but like carving it up to make it like movable. Such an incredible, beautiful set. So dynamic, so interesting. All of it really came together so well, and I'm very confident will make for high ticket auction items whenever that may be, because they're individual pieces now. You don't even have to cut them up now. I think you were big on that one, right? You were big in the trenches on that one, I think.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah, we were all in the trenches. But it was really fun opening up that box. I don't think anyone except for Shane had worked on that first season, obviously besides Rick. But the level of improvement from that didn't require that much dismantling because it was kind of falling apart. But cutting the original floor was the intricate part. But it was really fun seeing those old sets and seeing how the high level of craftsmanship that the show has it's very stark how we've improved. So that was really fun to see. And then turn it into something that we use. I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, one of the obviously wild differences between freshman year and junior year is everyone on the screen other than Rick wasn't there for it. I believe three of you, it's your first season for Dimension 20, right? Alison, Cait, and Greg. Yep. What was it like coming in as first timers into such a season the fans have been guessing about for 5 years, I guess. What was it? So what was it like for all of you coming in first time to this? Greg, you want to hop us off?
Sure. You know, it was really cool. So I started on Stoats. So I had like a little mini season before this one. But no, I mean, it was amazing. Just like, kind of having that framework from the previous seasons. Obviously, like we sort of retooled a lot of the elements from the previous two. But even just like, I think one of my first jobs on this season was rebuilding them all on the DM screen. So it was fun to just be able to like kind of take existing lore and just like kind of retool it into the current setup. But no, I mean, yeah, like I said, it was just like, it was really neat to be able to build all of these really cool projects and just know that it was like of significance in the fandom. Like it was neat to like be able to build something that's super cute and really practical, but then also know that it's like, oh, people are probably gonna like freak out when they see this. Because like I said, it was building to a lot of things that yeah, I think it was really cool to be able to see kind of come to fruition, and make a cute little piece for. So
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into tiny Seacaster Manor in a sec, but
yes.
Alison, you jumped in art directing this season.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, I just like a shout out to Casey McGeorge, who I invited to be part of this because they worked on the season and they were adamant that they would not join because they did not want to take away from how good Alison was on the season, and for people to think that Casey had helped art direct. So I just wanted that out there. Alison, you killed it. And also, what was it like coming in on this?
Well, I was going to say, actually, having so many people that are, have done this enough times, whether it's just in Stoats or since the very beginning, is just immensely helpful. Like Casey was so helpful. Casey kept me sane. It's helpful having somebody around who knows the drill and knows, how things run. And, same thing with Kelsey and Jesse. Obviously, like seeing how the shop works and the flow of things and the connections with everybody, just having that wealth of knowledge and information that I was able to ask everybody at every turn, like, okay, what do we do here? How do we handle this? And that was huge, so helpful. And I cannot thank you all enough for making that happen. But yeah, it's a little overwhelming going into something that has such hype first out the gate. But I think we really killed it, and it was so much fun, and I'm just continuously happy to have been part of it at all. So and everybody else really made it easy.
Yeah, because I've been snooping on your website, and I saw Dimension 20 seasons 22 to 24 listed on your resume. Obviously, we know 22 now is Never Stop Blowing Up, but we've got at least 2 more coming before everything shuts down.
That's very possible.
Big spoilers. There's more Dimension 20
There's
coming.
More Dimension 20. There's more of the things that makes Dropout money. What? Cait, coming in to bring art to life, not only in character art, but I mean the projections on the domes, like with your art, really, really upped the game of this season so much. What was it like coming in to this group?
Oh, I mean, I was one of the fans that had been theorizing about the season for 5 years. It was literally like I got the email from Carlos saying, "Hey, do you want to work on a season?" And I was like, "Please be fantasy, please be fantasy, please be fantasy." And then I got the first Zoom meeting, and it said FHJY meeting, and I was like, "Yeah." So, I was freaking out because I was like, they're doing it. Wait, I'm doing it. Wait, we're doing it. So it ended up being such a perfect fit, honestly. Like I think I said this with our first interview, Jordan, but I don't think I've ever worked so collaboratively with a group before on any project ever. Like Rick's team, it was literally just like, come on, join the Discord, go. And I was like, oh, okay. Working on the projections was so much fun. And then in post-production, working on all the character designs was just, it's like coming home, all these characters that we love so much that we get to see growing up or changing or becoming villains, who are always villains in the first place. And getting to explore lots of new folks like the rat grinders and teachers that had never had art before. And it was just, I'm such a fan. So it was such a joy to be like, oh, I get to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I think I don't know if all of you are fans necessarily before you
Yes.
came in, but you all feel like fans now, certainly. And I think that love really shows through so much of what happens. And yeah, Cait, I was always struck by like something you told me, and I think about it constantly. It has become my Roman Empire, and I don't know why. Which is the mall fight. You saw the set, and you're like, oh, the chairs don't have backs on them. I have to erase the backs of my chairs.
No, they didn't have rungs.
Yes, they didn't have
So
rungs, so I had to
the
like.
chairs so that they
Yes.
didn't have rungs.
So you had to get rid of the rungs on the projection art.
What a match!
Yeah, just like that level of coordination between visual artist, Cait, I don't know what to call you, and other medium artists, I don't know what to call anyone, as it turns out. Just like the fact that you all were working so closely together, I think made it such a more cohesive season of like, it wasn't just like, and here's character art, and now we're back to the minis. It was like, here's character art, and also like you're surrounded by an extension of the battle map, which felt so cool.
I mean, really, the battle map is a character to itself. So being able to extend the map into the projections just made the character like bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
It was kind of wild in a way too, because the development period of this season got kind of squinched, and we were sort of still developing battles and the season while we were shooting Stokes, actually, Burrows in even. So there's a lot going on, but that meant that we were kind of all in it together between projections, illustrations, battle maps. We were just all kind of going full speed, and What's that?
It was a sprint.
Yes, yeah, it was like a sustained sprint. But it also meant that we were just, the only way that it was going to come off was if we were all collaborating and like in touch and sort of like putting in that extra effort, I think. And in the end, we made something really fantastic. I feel super proud of it. But yeah, that's kind of how it went down.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, one of the big highlights, speaking of sort of those like making something fantastic, is Squeam holding a tray of cortados in the final battle. Jesse, that's your mini, right?
Yeah.
How fast did you have to make that?
Not so fast. Actually.
Yeah. No, tell me everything.
Yeah, we were actually packing up the shop, and Rick was like, "Hey, Jesse, before you help pack up the shop, can you please make a little addition to Squeam's mini where he has 6 cortados?" I was like, "What? Sure, I guess." So yeah, we had to like figure out like, 6. We had to make like a little, like, is it gonna be a circular tray or is it gonna be one of those little carry out trays? So from like coffee shops that you get when you order too many coffees. So it was such a fun little detail to just kind of quickly throw together on like the very last day I was working for that season.
Yeah, I would say, like, since you made it, can you confirm that they are tea-based lemon cortados, or are they actual cortados?
That's such a good question. I don't know anything about
You get
coffee.
to decide the canon.
I like the idea of lemon and tea.
Great.
I think that's great.
Yes, Siobhan will be furious. They're lemon-based tea cortados.
Squeam knows them well enough. You have to have faith in Squeam.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Squeam is highly competent, so...
Yeah. As we've seen in all the past seasons.
Right. Our favorite character. I love how Squeam has infected all of Dropout at this point. That, like... He's the Instagram poster on Very Important People. Like, it's just like slowly creeping into other shows. What a fun, very weird little Easter egg for people watching.
Somebody made this at conventions and was giving it away. Little guy, and I have him watching over me at all times.
It just makes sense. Yeah, I'm counting through here. I think I've got all of them, and they're in no order, but Mall Food Court, Baron's Game, Night Yorb, Frosty Fair, Last Stand, Rock the Boat, and obviously Vulture Dimension. It's a beefy season of sets, and art for that matter. But yeah, obviously, like we talked about, Cait, your introduction of the Face of Lightning, that, like... such a cool that's such a cool concept. Obviously, Greg, we got the incredible work of the mini Seacaster Manor. What was it like building that? Trying to bring the tiniest minis to life.
Oh, it was such a fun challenge. I mean, I think that one in particular was really cool because we were given the like deck of the ship was a 3D print, and then the rest of it was sort of like we got a sketch of it, the reference artwork, and we were like make these things work together. So it was a lot of like kind of finalizing the design of it based off of these really amazing LEDs that we had that were all magnet operated. So you would touch them with a magnet, they would all turn on, and I think like there were 9 or 10 LEDs in that little mini that was like quite literally like that big. So it was like this fun sort of like engineering / like building this really just cool standalone piece as is, and then doing all the sails and the greenery. Like it just checked a lot of boxes as far as like things that are really fun to do, and they just came together in this like really cool piece that kind of was, I don't know, yeah, just really really neat. It got to exist in like this very cool battle map, and obviously like that whole image of everything, like the ships and the clouds and the lightning, and it all just came together in this like really really cool way.
Yeah, I know, Jesse, you were responsible for the minis, right? The like super tinies. How much time did you have to build K2? Like, was that another like you have 30 seconds, make another Kristen?
Well, we didn't have another mini, unfortunately, for Kristen. We did have 2 of Fig, just because she had so many different poses. We did make another K2, and I had to just copy, because Shane Brockway did most of the PC minis, except for when we needed like another Adine, and we made another Gorgug, and we made a K2. And so I had to replicate what he painted for those minis. So she just looks almost exactly like the original Kristen. Unfortunately, we did not add the lovely little biker shorts with the with English flag on it, the Union Jack. But I loved that.
Well, I mean that was implemented way after the shoot, so you're good.
But that was also an addition. Rick was like, yeah, there's like a new, I love not knowing what's going on in the middle of the season, and Rick just kind of comes up to my table and is like, so we need another Kristen, and this is her UK version. Like, it's a whole bit. She's like the straight Kristen. I was like, what are you talking about? What's going on? But it was very fun to try to replicate Shane Brockway's painting style.
Similar process then for Gerard Ney, of you just like middle of the season, someone shows up and is like, hey, we need a glowing horse. They're
like a daymare, and I was like, what is a daymare? Yeah, I think it was Alison who was like talking me through that one, and she was like, we wanted to like look fiery, and I was like, okay. It's fun.
Yeah, you get these notes, you're watching it and it's like 1 a.m. in a warehouse, and you're like, I'm writing these down and these decisions are a little crazy, and the next morning it's like, oh, maybe it looks like sunrise, and like
yeah, it was the sunrise thing. I was like, okay, so like a gradient kind of. Yeah.
Gerard was fantastic, and it turned out so well. But I don't want to get away from our beautiful rock the boat, but without hopping to Kelsey and your lightning face. What a horribly upsetting nightmare that was. And how did you make it?
This one was actually, I love all the responses to it, because in terms of, we did that in like 2 days. It was me and Irene, and we're just at first when Rick was telling me about this set, I was like, how are we going to do this? This is crazy. And you just sit down with the materials and you're like, oh, easy peasy. It was the easiest thing we did. And it turned out so good. Like these other sets, we're like making all these things, all these elements. It was like, this is one thing, it's just clouds. But we built sort of an armature out of plastic that we had laying around. It had to be clear because we had to incorporate these lightning. That was actually arranging the LEDs so you'd have the lightning pattern throughout everything was the specific thing that we had to do. And I think it worked out really well. So kind of needle felting faces and hands to like the specs. Like, I don't know, it just worked. It was very simple in some ways, but you know, it's simple because we got the talent. But I loved all the responses to it. Like, I was really surprised that people were so, I mean, not surprised, like obviously it looked really, really cool on stage. Like those are those things you bring them in and you see them on the light box and it's just like, oh my God, like it all comes together and looks really beautiful. So it was a really nice surprise, the response to that one.
Yeah. I mean, that everything was so good, but yeah, that the lightning and just the face and hand also so upsetting. I don't know why, but a hand of clouds deeply upset me. I guess for Alison and Rick, what was it like getting to see not your work on camera, but your carts on camera as Brennan quit and was packing up the set?
Yeah, I mean, this season was wild, you know, like it's so interesting to think about the whole journey and like how much time all those folks have spent together in the dome, and it's just such a rich, you know, like long journey, and you know, I guess it had to happen at some point. They fully drove him off a cliff, you know. Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah.
I mean, and we are all like off stage, just full like tears, cry, laugh every time. You know, we're listening in, and they're just going bananas in there, and you know, the crew is laughing, they're laughing. It's just madness, in just the best possible way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times we're like trying not to laugh audibly, you know, because you can hear us if we laugh loud enough, and that was one of those points where this was just full cracking up, like there was no holding back. It was off the rails.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, both of them, both Blimies, obviously were so incredible. One of the things that I adored was people were trying to guess, because they were like, "Oh, I think it's the second Blimey that they're talking about in the pre." And I was like, "No, Allie still had their like other haircut, like for the behind the scenes featurette." So Brennan didn't even know in that yet that there was going to be another Blimey that would ruin his life even more. Yeah, so many moments of the season, Blimey obviously being one of them, instantly became like things that fans will talk about forever. I have to imagine one of the other ones will be a lawnmower with a floppy dildo on its head. Cait, what did you do to us?
I don't know, because my character design was based off of Rick drawing. So,
well, you
ask
know,
him.
so there's a reference in the first season where they talk about, I believe that the Thistle Springs show up in a tank lawnmower towards the end of the season. I think that it's called out. So we're like, okay, there's got to be a tank lawnmower in this, and we knew it was going to be all these sex robots and stuff. And so
There's a lot of humor.
that's the starting point. And then so then we got the pieces. You know, we found these like artificer elements where you could sort of build your own like artificer tank and this kind of thing, and printed a bunch of stuff up at the scale, and then worked with Greg actually to figure out exactly what this thing was going to look like. And so that was one of those moments where we knew we wanted to have the gag of it like driving through, and so it needed to be illustrated, you know, and so that was like a back and forth for taking pictures of what Greg was building. I was like, yes, that looks good, and then sending that to Cait, and then I'm pretty sure Ruby spent like a lot of time getting that dildo flopped just right, you know.
Yeah,
The arms.
Derek and Ruby couldn't be here today, but thankfully I did talk to them. Yeah, I did talk to them after that episode. So Ruby, I believe, said that there was a file saved on Ruby's computer called fuckatron.psd. It was something.
Yeah, lawnmower fuckatron.psd.
Right. Thank you.
Because I was like, please make Brennan say fuckatron on the show, but then he just called it the lawnmower, which is so much funnier.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Greg, then talk us through building Lawnmower Fuckatron.
Oh, I would love to. um, I
What I'm learning is it's all of our faults.
Yeah.
No, I think that, I was trying to think back on it. I think that is the singular mini that I did this season. I don't think I touched another one of them. But no, it was super fun because, I mean, obviously, I think I had the reference art pretty early on, and we had these sort of components and these dildos that were not to scale what we were building. And so the one on the head ended up enormous, and we were like, all right, it's kind of perfect though. So, no, so that was, it was sort of a combo of using a lot of those pieces. I scratch built the loop gun and feather. So that's definitely listed in the special section in my resume. Oh, it was super fun. And honestly, it's I don't want to admit too much, but I think I repainted all of those toys 2 or 3 times because I was just they just didn't look right. You're they have to look kind of not disgusting. So we got some fresh coats of paint.
I remember when we got the prints and the 3D prints, because I also had to source a bunch of STLs of dildos and butt plugs and stuff and fists and we got it in, and I was like, hey, look, it's a bag of dicks. I sent a picture to the Slack. I was like, there's a bag of dicks.
Yeah, comparing the dick size and the dildos to the gnomes were
Well, and then also we had the doubles of Wilma and Digby because they needed to fit into the washer and dryer, so they're kind of hunched. And so during the mini shoot, there was one day where we're doing this scene, and I was like, wait a minute. And I took Digby, and I was like, if I just put him on top, oh no. And Shabak
I sure
was
hope you took a
this
picture.
is art. I was like, great. It's perfect.
I'm pretty sure in the Discord chat when we were working on sets, there's a moment where I was like, do you ever look at something you're working on and go, wow, this is my employment? And I was drawing the lawnmower, and Rick goes, sometimes, and he just sends the receipt for buying naked gnome. And I was like, family.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this to get demonetized now on YouTube, but well
But
worth it.
that mini is gonna break every auction record that there ever has been ever.
It certainly should. It's also, I love that. I assume it's your drawing, Cait, in the background of the featurettes of before the season, and people it was, the season was so wild that by the time Frosty Fair happened, people had forgotten that drawing existed, which is mind blowing that we saw it, and people people zoomed in on it and what could this be? And then everything was crazy, and we're just well, we can't keep that in our brain anymore. And then it shows up on set, and you're like, oh yeah, that did we knew this was happening.
And it was the same episode as Vulture Dimension too.
Yeah. Truly, yes. Before we get to Vulture Dimension, but yeah, so you had obviously the lawnmower, but then a bunch of other robots, generous to call them, that showed up with various other equipment. Who else was working on these very fun toys? Kelsey, jump in.
All of us they were just kind of all these things we had to kind of kit bash and assemble and add a dick onto it or something.
normal Dimension 20 stuff.
Yeah. There was one robot mini. Rick gave me a bunch of just robot parts and the bag of dildos and was like, can you make a smaller robot? And so we just kind of put something together, and I would go over and be like, does this look good to you? And there was also one, I was painting another mini for this battle. We were doing a lot of background characters, just NPCs that you don't see a ton of, but there was a nun, and I was I was raised Catholic, and I was like, how funny would it be if this nun was holding a dildo? Rick, can I do that? And so we added
the answer was yes.
She's the greatest pose. She's just
it was so majestic.
Yeah.
Rick, where did you find naked gnome minis?
Oh, the internet, my search
Fair.
history is totally messed up, but you can pretty much find anything you want on the internet.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think that the episode before Frosty Fair I got early, and so like I was sitting and like watching the episode, and the like next week whatever preview comes up, and one of the tent comes up, and I'm like, oh, full frontal nudity. I was not expecting this.
There was a question mark. I was like, because I realized like, oh, I don't think we've ever had like, full frontal nudity or kind of really any nudity, I don't think. And so there was a conversation about that. I was like, can we do this? And then it was quickly like, well, we're going to do it, and if they can decide if they want to blur it out, because that's even funnier, maybe.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Shout out to the social media managers who had to put black bars to put those clips up. Incredible. Yeah, but all right. Well, then let's dive into the Vulture Dimension. The bit, another like come to fruition bit of just the dumbest thing. Who had their hands on? Obviously, Cait. Who else had hands on Vulture Dimension? That. I don't even know what it was. But like how early on? Because I think I talked to one of you and it wasn't ready for the first episode, and you were really grateful that it didn't come up first episode, because obviously there was a vulture. But how is Vulture Dimension building? When did you get the note of like, hey, we're gonna taunt the players into doing something? It could happen anytime.
Oh, day one.
Okay.
So, like, we're setting a Beardsley trap, and I was like, hell yeah.
And
Yeah, I
they
think we
fell
had it ready to
immediately.
go. It was like Raven and Amber were like doing that, and it was pretty much, I think it was ready to go the whole time, because it was that thing we never know when they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's
we knew
the background I worked on, so.
we knew that it would happen, could happen early, but it definitely was like that in the first battle because, Brennan swore an oath that he would just make the vulture fly away. So it was at least going to be 20 days before it actually came to fruition.
Amazing.
It's all great because, the vulture, the original vulture, is like one of these times, much like the orange fairy hat, or there's different little things that sometimes we make a choice and it sort of sticks out a little bit. Maybe it's not always the best choice. I mean, it's great for comedy and stuff, but just design wise, like, oh dang, that element didn't need to be there. It could have been painted a different color or whatever. And then the players like to troll us and indirectly, or troll Brennan, and so it did feel good to kind of mess with them back. And I could definitely see as soon as we put the board down, before we even started rolling, they were like, is that a Vulture? That's a Vulture. I'm like, Rick, you motherfucker. They're like talking to me, looking at me, trying to decide if they should in character acknowledge the Vulture or not, so that was really fun.
That's delightful. Yeah. Well, obviously, 3 cheers for Jesse Harron. We brought it up. We have to talk about the Orange Fairy. It's legally obligated anytime anyone mentions it. I don't have any more questions, Jesse, because we talked about it a bunch the last time we chatted. But just to mention that, Vulture Dimension on par with the Orange Hat Fairy for just the dumbest bit that the players can't handle. And props to the art team for entrapment, I think is the right word for it. Such a fun. I mean, the whole season's super fun. Obviously, one of the other really fun ones is The Last Stand. Cait, we talked about your Arthur folks making out, but I think I messaged you on Instagram to be like, how many Arthur Egg Force did you draw? And you were like, actually not that many.
I think it was like 19 or something. Yeah. I posted on socials the breakdown of all of the individuals that I did. And then after that, it was literally just like pasting, flipping, like copy paste. But I don't want to talk about how big that file was, especially after Derek and Ruby got their hands on it, because oh my god, it was massive.
Yeah, but it turned out so incredible. The sea of Arthur Eggforts, cheering, jeering, making out, names written across chests, so good.
Fighting each other,
Yeah, fighting each
sleeping.
other. Yeah, and then also, obviously, Jesse, you got us all with our reveal of the Hangman game. That was you, right? Am I making this up? Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Of our Porter reveal in a game of Hangman. At what point? Obviously, you all knew that was coming because the projection had to be ready to go. At what point were you like, wouldn't it be funny if there was an extra clue before they found out?
I was just told to put graffiti on the desks, and I was like, "What's a high school thing to do?" And so I did, like, the special S, little hearts, and like did a Rat Grinders little logo, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll do Hangman." And for a while, I was like, "Oh, what? Wouldn't it be fun if I like tried to very subtly put in a little Easter egg?" And I think I told Rick. I don't know if I told Rick if I did that or not.
I definitely
I
do.
remember
I
if we
saw
talked
that.
about it. I do remember seeing it on there though, and you're like,
Being like, will anyone notice it? And luckily, no one did. Everyone was too focused on who was R and B. But no, it was just like a funny little thought. I was like, little reveal, because I think it'll be revealed pretty shortly after this battle. And there's so much happening in this battle, I didn't think anyone would look at it, so.
and you had the one slight bonus that the word could have been murder and not Porter. So they had the same like fill-in letters at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a good choice. Did anyone else get to pepper in any Easter eggs that the internet necessarily hasn't found this season? I only know that one exists because Jesse, you posted it with the like solved, or you may have just messaged me.
I think I just messaged you because we had to talk about it, and I saw you being like, Jesse didn't hide anything in those tables. It's just for fun. And I was like, I have to let him know eventually. Yeah. I was like, I lied a little bit. There's something we do on every time we can think about it. It's like we hide. What is it called? Oh, Rick. It's like Rictus was here.
No.
Yeah, and that's not like a big Easter egg, but it's hidden on like I think most seasons and some
it's
battles.
almost more of a tradition. There was it goes back to freshman year. We bought a lot of miniatures from Reaper Miniatures, and Reaper has a thing where every 10th miniature you get like a free one. They sent us we ended up getting like 20 of these Rictus miniatures, which is like this undead skeleton knight guy. So then when Shane was painting the half-pipe, he needed graffiti, and so that idea was, oh, there's this graffiti artist in Elmville named Rictus who's going around, maybe they're a dwarf, going around like writing like dwarven runes, and signing Rictus was here. So it's been in a lot of Fantasy High stuff, but in other settings as well. So Rictus was here.
Damn, I wish you told me that. I would have hit it somewhere. Because the projection backgrounds are so full of random stuff.
Yeah.
I was having way too much fun hiding things in various places.
Yeah, I mean, one of those beautiful things. Oh, go ahead, Alison.
Oh, no, I want to say that we also had, there's like in the mall set also, there's a magazine stand, and I think we used a couple of the other like alternate names from stores or something for a couple of, they're so small. I think Raven was trying to like a single hair, trying to make any of the magazine and books have pun names.
Wolf's Fargo was really good. The ATM.
That's very good. I was going to say that's one of that is actually what I was going to mention is that the mall had so much detail that the names, I'm assuming all of you had a hand in it. I know some of you definitely did. Any you're particularly proud of, some of your favorites of your puns?
I really like layers instead of Claire's.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of I like Sacro Bell, which I think was that you, Allison?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there was definitely an open call, and we had a long list, and we sort of picked our favorites. And then I think Cait, you invented some too. Like is Yarbucks was yours?
Yarbucks
right?
was mine. Yeah.
Which is the Seacaster family owns a coffee chain that's called Yarbucks. So
it's in Elmville too, in the Elmville shot.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of references to other seasons in the mall too. There's
Build,
Right.
Build a
and
Bugbear
Build a
has
Bugbear. Build a Bugbear was just like a joke, and I was like, I'm gonna put Hob in there.
yeah.
And then there's the bookshop. I can't remember whose bookshop it is, but it's from a different season.
Oh, was it Pete's?
Yes, Pete's bookshop. Yeah.
Delightful. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like so many, like that set was also so incredible, and obviously the projections and the art all really led into that. Oh boy, it's so many other things that happened this season. I mean, we have to talk about Baron's game, right? Like, I mean, Jesse, you built our beautiful boy that Brennan didn't use. Oh, Murph and good rolls. What is happening?
That moonlight, moonwater, whatever Emily did.
Yeah. Bathe your dice in moonlight, gang. Yeah. Who had their hands on Baron's game?
I think everybody, right?
Yeah.
That was like all hands on deck one.
That one was crazy.
There were so many parts to that of just like not only like can walk me through, for those of you that helped on this, building those rooms that had to like interlock but weren't all available on the table at once. Allison, I'm assuming you had a ton on that of like.
Well,
that's very technical.
So Rick did up a version. We kind of had talked with Brennan and figured out what rooms we want to see and like how that would all fit. And then Rick definitely drew up like essentially the board game map of the rooms and how they would nook together and fit in the space. And then I drafted them all up, and we got the pieces cut and printed and scattered away to everybody to make all beautiful and terrifying in the best way. But there was a lot of figuring out each piece and how they would fit together, and each room had like a wall that we had to remove so we would be able to get the camera in for the minis shoot, and just how it all there were a lot of moving pieces that had to fit, for sure.
The one thing that's kind of it's sort of hard to like imagine, but when you're building a miniature, it's very much ultimately kind of like building a full scale set when the set dressing has to be so specific, because all those rooms often represented specific characters which have a history. So it's like we want to see all these things, and so much of that is custom and has to be figured out and drawn up. And that was also one where it was like a lot back and forth between Cait and us, and like I think, for instance, like Cait drew the like really elaborate bunk bed, and then Greg like built the thing from scratch. There's like lots of like that. I was like, whoa, we were really like operating on a super high level. That battle map is very impressive.
Yeah,
right? How do you build a bunk bed from scratch that is an inch tall?
Yeah, that one was pretty tiny. I think a lot of it was styrene, which is basically just like sheets of thin plastic. So a lot of it came together with that. I used a couple toothpicks, some quilting pins. I think it was like the little knobs on the top of the bunk beds were quilting pins, like stuck into a plastic tube. The bedding was a paper towel. It was just like a wet paper towel with a little bit of glue on it. So that was a trick from my. I used to build theater models in 1/4 inch scale, so that was like a fabric trick from
the bunk bed and like Seacaster Man are like the same size, like.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So Seacaster. But that was fun. I got to do all the Clears, MacGuffins, and the little like
the beans and the slippers and all that.
The yogurt cups.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It was
and
so delightful.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it was delightful.
No, but that was definitely when I was doing the yogurt cups. I remember like I got them done, and I don't remember if I asked Jesse or if I showed him, and she was like, "Oh, all of the lemon yogurt cups," and I was like, "Huh?" It's like knowing the flavor specifically.
It's very important.
Yeah, I had to go back and repaint a little bit of it.
I have to just say, like, Greg is maybe the best scratch builder we've ever had working on our show, and it is so wild to just walk over to Greg and be like, "Hey, so I need these things. I need some yogurt cups. I need some beans that are on a shirt, and I need some, like this." And he's just like, "Okay, yeah," And I give him some reference, and then he just cranks it out.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Thank you.
That little spoon was actually made out of metal.
Yeah, it was a little
Crazy.
brass. Yeah, and it was maybe 3 millimeters long.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How?
Nobody knows. You just
Yeah.
know what
We just leave Greg alone, and then
Oh.
every once in a while you check, and it's coming along.
Yeah.
It was so important to me that everyone knows Greg is also 6'5", and my hands are the size of
no.
Greg's palms. Greg has huge hands and is able to craft the most intricate, tiny, beautiful things. It's amazing.
I hope
Thank you.
I hope Dimension 20 has ordered special tables for you then, so that you aren't hunched at a normal table doing this.
No, there were some standing workstations for that. Yeah, I think because I am taller, I think it's standing workstation, then I'll put an Apple box on top and rest my hands on that and do whatever for the super tiny stuff. But yeah, that was a really fun one.
I know there's a standing workstation. I think it was Raven that posted this picture. I don't even know what it was, but it was Casey working on something and an inch from a laptop. Did you post that, Kelsey?
Yeah, I was through a room and was like it's just.
Yeah.
Weren't they drafting the mall? I think maybe.
I don't know. It
Or
seemed
no,
like she
I can't
did
remember.
That, did that all the time. That
Yeah,
was
something like that.
What is it like back in the workshop these days? It's brimming with as many people as you've ever had. What's that like that there are? I mean, every couple of episodes, I've got a new list of people to try and find on Instagram as Brennan reads out 50 names, and I have to pause and write them into my notes app and play and pause. I mean, obviously the team is expanding. How does that? It has to feel, I assume, good. But yeah, what's that like?
We had a really big team. I think there was 10 people at certain times. And it's really cool. Part of what I do, Rick's here's what we have to do. I'm like, okay, well, Amber's really good at this, and Sadie's good at this, and Greg's really good at this, and then just kind of assign our tasks to everybody, and everyone has a really amazing skill set. The level of talent on this season was all-time high. We talk about it all the time. And it was just so great to bring all these people in, and we just worked so well as a team. Jesse is always asking us all these interesting questions, and we know everybody way too much. I'll be talking to my friends about stuff.
Are you a fruit or are you a vegetable? It's it'll be very quiet in the shop, and then Jesse will be like, "She could only live in a river or an ocean. Which one would you live in?"
It's the worst. I'm over by the computer taking notes and doing budget stuff, and I'm I want to be where everybody else is talking and having fun.
I would live in a river.
Greg is playing musicals.
Yeah, and I'm playing musicals. We got Legally Blonde. I think we listened to Shock.
Yeah.
We listened to Chess once.
Yeah, we listened to Chess. Yeah, Nobody's Died a couple times.
Yeah, we just knew each other really well, and we all just got along really well. It was always the level of energy in the shop was always really good. We're there for each other. The season, that season was just so all around top level team.
We said it a lot, or it was clear to me, and I feel like I tried to say it because I was so appreciative, but also blown away, is that I don't know that we've ever had a season with as many talented people all working at that level together. We just really was definitely a high water mark for us that season. Yeah.
It was really cool when I first started working on the show. It was on an island with just Raven and Rick and Casey. So it was very small, and Shane came for 2 weeks. So it was very, very small shop to be with it as it has grown a lot. And then to be with so many just deeply talented and very helpful. Everyone was so collaborative. Everyone was so complimentary to other people's work, and if anyone had a problem, 3 other people were ready to step in with suggestions and to help, and there was never a feeling of competition. ever in the shop, and it's just always just such like a really friendly, warm environment, and like I feel very lucky to consider all of the people in the shop like good, close, personal friends. Mainly also because I ask a lot of really weird questions, and it gets conversation flowing. It keeps it
Follow-up
going.
question, Jesse. River or ocean? If you could live in
And-
one, what is it?
Oh, listen, I'm a lake girl. I'm from Michigan, but I would say river.
Yeah, this was the question from this
Yeah.
week that actually
Yeah.
it was my question that I stumped
It
Jesse.
was.
If you could live near a river, an ocean, or a lake, what would you choose? And it was like a long, long time to choose.
Listen, everyone was so fast to say river, and I was like, what lake are we talking about? I was like, a lake's just a pond. I was like, have you been to Lake Superior or Lake Michigan? It's hard.
See, I'm a creek guy, so that
Creek.
wasn't an option.
But now
Great, did you
I've
say
run-
you're a dog? Yeah.
Dog,
okay.
yeah.
Then went with
Then-
Bay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a
Kate,
Chesapeake
hop
girly.
in. What body of water are you living by or in? I'm not sure what the rules are anymore.
I was gonna cheat and say like a brackish estuary,
Ooh, that's a
like
good
a river
choice.
and ocean.
It's nice. Yeah.
Rivers meet oceans at places. I think that's fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anywhere there's like mangroves would be my choice.
Nice.
I will say for future seasons, I really have to work on having more questions. I'm at the bottom of the barrel scraping things to the point where people are like, you've asked that question already. And I'm like,
But maybe answers change.
Sometimes they do. We bring them back.
It's true.
Rick, how nice was it to have a season where no one asked you to cut a hole in the table? That's right, Abria, I'm not done with you.
Yeah, there's like a whole Abria factor now at Dimension 20, because Abria comes hard, has always come hard and said stuff like, I want to battle inside a giant effing bear, from day one. But now that is like an arms race between Brennan and Abria. So Brennan's like, well, what did Abria do? And like, I feel like he is now,
wants to-
motivated to dream up stuff that Abria, hasn't done yet. So it's great for us. It's fun.
This is blow up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely some explosions coming.
I can't wait. I mean,
Just
it
a
would be
few.
wild if there weren't, right? Yeah,
The trailer just completely lied to everyone.
yeah. Brennan isn't in different clothes. There's,
It's all about yeah. I was gonna make a joke that it's all about like balloon animals, but never mind.
No. One of the things that I love that just happened is we got the post-season behind the scenes featurette, and because of the weird spot that I sit in terms of fan but have connections to folks like you, people reached out to be like, hey, the wall of art, do we think those are spoilers for the next season? Is that inspiration? And I was like, well, Buddy Dawn and Kipper Lily are on it, so I'm guessing it was inspiration for this season. And I was like, but people are like, but there's a hawk lady on it, so who is? And I'm like, I don't know. But
what is the wall of art? That's in the art shop, or?
Yeah, I assume it was for you, Kate. It was because there were old drawn, it looked like 3D models of printed pictures, like a Hero Forge of Kipper Lily, and then it had a bunch of wizards and other people just stuck up. Carlos commented that it was an inspiration wall. So
I have no idea.
I think
I was never physically in the studio, so I didn't get any of that.
All those inspiration. It's we have color inspiration, we have vibe inspiration. Rick loves printing out reference, and it's so fun. That's for Jesse and just the vibes of the show. But there's things like wizards that aren't we had a lot of wizards in the mall. So I don't think they're spoilers or anything. They're just from.
I think if I had to guess, I'll go back and look at it, but probably what you're seeing is the paint area, which was Shane and Jesse or actually
Mara.
Shane was there for a little bit. Mara was in there too. It's sort of like a paint corner, and so there's lots of reference up. So we make a lot of models in Hero Forge, but then the model comes out and it doesn't have any paint on it, so the painters have to have reference to know oh yeah, this shirt is red and it kind of looks like this, and So we'll print out, we use Hero Forge actually to help us illustrate what the colors are, but then also sometimes there's illustrations from a previous season, or sometimes it's a reference of like a real photo, like actually I want the material to feel like this, so we just print them out, put them up for the folks to look at. So I'm not sure what the Hawk Lady was, but probably a reference for something.
I think it was a reference for a Yorby, actually, because it was sort of these like deserty, oiled up, like very early with the masks.
That's probably the Braum. So that's this guy Gerard Braum, or Gerald Braum, who's an illustrator who did a bunch of Dark Sun stuff. And I guess that's kind of an Easter egg. Like most of the minis from the Night Yorb are like Dark Sun knockoff minis, so they're all like oily barbarian people, and so that's the
Yeah, some folks in the comments recognized that it was Dark Sun, but still, like, people are like, but what does it mean? I'm like, I'm real confident they wouldn't have an inspiration wall with Kipper Lily on it for Never Stop Blowing Up. I just feel like that wouldn't make sense. Like,
Yeah,
it feels
like
like
4 dogs in a trench
She's
coat.
breaking containment.
Yeah,
Pure red corgi.
yeah.
Yeah, whenever we get pictures, whenever we're working on a mini specifically, like, or a model, they're always like hung up in front of us. And then when I was done painting minis, I would take it off and put it on the wall behind me. So it's probably just like all of the minis we had already done all season, just kind of like collected on the walls in the little room.
But
Yeah.
that actually, for when we were doing Stokes, like we were working in a smaller space and we had all the reference for the whole season up, and it was very hard to post behind the scenes because there'd be like something in the corner. Casey is so good at like seeing if there's spoilers, like, and I would sometimes send things, and I was just like, I'll post at the end because it was just way too many spoilers. But I always look at the reference, or like Jesse's table, like there is just, I don't know, we got a lot of stuff going on at the same time, which is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, this season also coincided with, obviously, the legendary Rick Perry, the documentary. You were obviously working on that while filming. Rick, we haven't talked since that came out. How's it feel to be legendary? Gotta feel good, right?
I don't know who was it. Was that you, Jesse, or Raven, that made that label?
It was a combination of the two of us. We saw a comment of everyone being like, the legendary Rick Perry, on a bunch of like YouTube videos. And so we just kept teasing Rick a little bit, and Raven got this label maker. So we labeled everything in his shop. And then we put on the very back of Rick's chair, the legendary Rick Perry. So.
And then, of course, the documentary crew was like, oh, look at this. Here's the title for the show. So.
Whoops.
It was fun. I mean, it's definitely weird to be like in front of the camera and talk about yourself and your stuff. For someone who kind of exists more in behind the camera mode, but the filmmakers were great. It was really fun having them at the shop, and it's very cool that that Fantasy High Junior Year is the season that they sort of documented, because it really was a magical singular kind of season. So.
Yeah, I watched it, cried, told my wife she would really like it, so we watched it again, and I cried again. I believe I messaged you both times, very upset that you would make me cry. But also, I think about, and I wonder if all of you have like taken that the this is great, this is okay, this is shit, I'm shit, this is great model into how you build or draw now. Is that, have you also inspired by, this is where things are at in the process?
100%. It's like on my shelf right there. After I watched the documentary, I wrote it up and I put it right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a method that you should, try to use by any means. It's not a method. It's really just a list of like the experiences that happen that I've, found on the internet or whatever. But I feel like for me personally, it makes it like 3% better, just to like be able to acknowledge, pain that the struggle that you're going through. It's like slightly better, but yeah. So I'm glad it connects with other people and other people relate to it, I guess.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, my iPad is dying. I'm trying to get a charger.
All good. I just the arm coming in from
I
behind
left
the
it at
door.
work.
So I'd love to go around and hear some of your favorite memories or favorite scenes, whatever, from this season. I'll start on my row for me, which is Allison. You are next to me on my screen.
Gotcha. Oh, geez. I think there was something really cathartic about the prep for the very last battle, which there are all kinds of videos from all the behind the scenes stuff of us, like 20 million people in the department, like all scattered around a single board and everybody trying to do something. And like, we're listening into like production and I'm like, got the like feed on my phone being like, they're calling for the board now. Here we go. And just when it finally made it in and we all sat down, we're like, oh, we did it. And that moment of just so much energy and so many touches and like having finally finished the thing and having the cast react the way they did. And that was just very satisfying, I think, as like a cap to it all.
Yeah, I was like, 'cause this season was right before the actors' strike, and it was unclear if Dropout was going to be able to continue shooting during the actors' strike. So you were really up against it. It wasn't like you were like, "Oh, we've got some time."
I
Well,
think
they
we
shortened
literally
the season.
also
they
shortened the
shooting
season, and I
schedule
think
by like 2 weeks. So
I want to say that literal last day actually also we had scheduled it so that if we finished before midnight, in case they did strike. So I think we were counting like seconds at some point.
Yeah, there's no 1 a.m. in a warehouse that night because it's after midnight and there are problems. Yeah. Greg, how about you? Favorite moments, favorite recollections of junior year?
I don't know. I mean, there were so many of them. I think it was really just getting to kind of see the sort of inner workings of the system. I've said it multiple times on the job and after. Like, this is probably one of the coolest projects I've been able to work on. And I think a lot of it is just like, not only are you building cool things, but there's like such a loyal fandom. It's run so incredibly well. And I think just having the input from Rick and Kelsey and everyone, just like really, and Allison and Jesse and Cait and everybody. But no, it's just like, it really is people like performing their sort of like peak skill sets. And it's just so cool to be able to contribute not only to such like a cool project, but then also just be around people who respect both the world of the show and the other artists so much. It's really terrific.
Jesse, go.
Greg really knocked it out of the park with that answer. Yeah, a lot of the similar thing. I don't want to touch too much on the same things Greg said, but it's just such a great environment in the shop, and the people that are just so talented. It's also so fun to have a little bit of like, yeah, everything's pretty thoroughly designed, but there's still a little bit of creative freedom with certain things. So you can kind of add your own little touch or like little graffiti. So like one thing I personally love doing and working on specifically on the show, outside of it being such a lovely production, was like really getting to do all those little details, like a little checkered tie, writing juicy on someone's like pants, writing, like putting the little COC like agent badge on Agent Clark. I don't remember his name. Like just like being able to do these little details that like are seen and are appreciated by the fans and by the people who use the minis is really cool.
Yeah. Cait?
Say it's actually like a perfect bookend, because that was going to be what I was going to say, is that my work already is heavily detailed, and I love hiding things for viewers to like find. And so being not only like encouraged but instructed to hide Easter eggs. They're like, here's a list of things we need you to hide. And I was like, okay, cool. How about these other things I want to hide? They're like, yes, sounds good. It was such a good time. Like, I mean, when you get to Little Brook and like the anarchy and pride flags on the Cubby's house, you know, that wasn't just something I wanted to do. I was told to do that. And as a huge fan of the show, I was like, ooh, I get to like make it feel lived in. Like there's all these details because people utilize these spaces. And it was just, oh my gosh, it was so cool. Just working with everybody and it, I can't even like get into it because it was just such an absolute joy.
Kelsey.
My favorite thing, we get we have these meetings with Alison and Rick, and they're like, this is what we're gonna do, like this is what they want. I have no idea how we're gonna do this, and then you kind of walk away, and you come back, and you're like, this is so simple, we got it, and we accomplished every single thing that we needed to do. We got them done. We got to add extra details, enjoy the process of making. And even with our time, it felt like we, looking back, were we working on that for 6 months or 2 weeks? I can't remember. Time was just this weird thing, but we're like, oh, we gotta go, 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 go. But then while we're doing it, we get to sit down and pay attention to what we're doing and really, have some time to enjoy it. The whole season was just worked out incredibly well. I can't imagine it being better than it was. I think we were just high octane a performance.
Yeah, I say Carlos Luna after Burroughs End said he thought that Burroughs End was the best acted actual play, but the junior year is the best produced actual play ever made, and obviously a lot of the credit is laying at all of y'all's feet. Rick, how about you? I skipped you when I was going in order because I figured you should close on that note.
Yeah. Well, it brings my heart so much joy to hear all these people that I respect so much and had such a great pleasure working with and get to continue working with, talking about this shared experience. Super moving. So I don't know. I definitely, that is the thing that I really appreciate, is just that we get to do this crazy job and make this world, get to go play in this world and stuff. But that's not what I was gonna say. That's just, I was moved. But the thing I want to say is the DM screen, and to highlight two people who were really, really key on that, who aren't here, who is Amber Paget and Raven Bartlett. It's sort of we got to take the original DM screen, which was kind of one of the first things it was the first DM screen we ever made. It was one of the first miniatures that I ever worked on. We got to take that and just take it to the nth degree, with all those teeny tiny buildings and the lights and the roads. And I know by the end of it, I think everyone, or many people, definitely had their hands in there, and flocking and all this stuff on there. And it just looks so damn good. So I'm very proud of that.
Amazing. Yeah, the whole season, a triumph. I'm proud of myself because I made it through this whole interview without asking about Honor the Cock, but I guess we'll have to save that for another time. Everyone knows how to find you on the internet. I'll put links probably, or I'll forget that I said that at the end of this interview, and when I'm posting this, it won't remember it. But anyway, Never Stop Blowing Up starts on June 27th. Everyone's very excited about it. Obviously, more Dimension 20 coming after that. When are we getting senior year? I'm just kidding. Any parting thoughts before I awkwardly stop recording?
Thanks for having us on and asking us all these questions and giving us the platform to talk about this weird thing that we all do.
Yeah, it was a year ago. It's so fun to reflect and be oh my God, that happened so long ago, but it really feels like we did that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Genuinely.
Yeah, I can't believe how.
A little sad hearing it was a year ago.
I know.
Right.
Crazy.
But just
Wild,
think,
though.
a year from now, we'll be reflecting on whatever you're about to start working on or are working on. I don't know. Some of you are in LA, and obviously that's a tip-off for when Dimension 20. Look, if Rick's not on an island, then something is happening. So anyway, this has been absolutely delightful. Thank you all so much. We will chat again, I hope, and I'm sure, very soon. And I'm going to hit stop recording.